Peace has been the watchword of non-alignment. Peace for progress, peace to safeguard freedom from the clutches of the superpowers. It was a difficult task to fight for right against might. And it is the greatest triumph of non-alignment that the world today seeks the blessings of peace. Belgrade 1961, the first non-aligned summit conference. Yugoslav President Marshal Tito, India's Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, President Sukarno of Indonesia, President Nasser of Egypt and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana lay firm foundations for the future of the non-aligned movement. At the first summit conference, peaceful coexistence is offered as the only answer to the threat of a nuclear holocaust. The concept of Panchsheel found a clear expression in non-alignment. Each country and each people, Nehru had observed, have to find out their path themselves, through trial and error, through suffering and experience. Belgrade, 1989, the capital of Yugoslavia, the largest country in the Balkans, a land presenting a unique blend of various ethnic groups and languages. The 3rd of September, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, arrives in Belgrade for the 9th Non-Aligned Summit. The Prime Minister of India is received by the Yugoslav Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Alexander Mitrovic. India and Yugoslavia have worked closely and conscientiously for the cause of peace through non-alignment, all these years of the movement. From Belgrade to Belgrade, thus remains a continuing search for peace and progress from the days of Jawaharlal Nehru and Marshal Tito. The non-aligned movement's action program has South Africa and apartheid on the top of the list. An Africa Fund was set up at the last summit at Harare to support the frontline states against the economic pressures from South Africa's racist regime. Chairman of the Africa Fund, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, discusses the report to the summit with the committee members. From a 25-member non-aligned movement in 1961, it has now grown to a strength of 102 nations, 2/3 of the world's nation-states. The outgoing chairman, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, greets the new chairman of NAM, Yugoslav President Janez Drunvacek. The 9th Non-Aligned Summit. The UN Secretary General, Perez de Cuellar, is one of the distinguished invitees at the summit. The 4-day summit is likely to deliberate on the necessity for a new global economic relations, protection of environment, promotion of human rights, and reinforcing the United Nations machinery. The good response to the Africa Fund reiterates the determination of the non-aligned nations to fight the war against apartheid to the finish.
When we met at Harare 3 years ago, the situation in southern Africa had grown to grave and disquieting proportions. There was invasion and sabotage in Angola, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. There was colonialism in Namibia in defiance of the UN Security Council's plan for the independence of Namibia. There was apartheid in South Africa, an institutionalized racism which bound an entire people in chains. Out of our determination to give expression to our solidarity with the people of Southern Africa was born the Africa Fund, the acronym for Action for Resisting Invasion, Colonialism, and Apartheid. As we saw it, the need was for action, and action without delay. It was necessary to mount a program of emergency assistance to those on the front line and those in the liberation movements. The world at large has responded to our appeal in a most heartening manner. 54 nations and several international organizations have pledged to our cause the equivalent of almost $500 million US, $476 million to be exact, in cash, kind, and technical assistance. Our African brothers and sisters, and in particular those who live in the frontline states and within the boundaries of Pretoria's evil empire, have demonstrated through decades of courageous struggle that they too refuse to submit to the evil of apartheid, whatever the consequences. The Africa Fund is the earnest of our commitment to stand by the people of South Africa as destiny carries them to a famous victory. Thank you.
Besides his busy schedule at the NAM summit, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi holds a series of talks with visiting heads of states, presidents and prime ministers. The talks with King Birendra of Nepal centered around the differences coming in the way of signing of treaties of trade and transit. The Afghan President, Dr. Najibullah, sought the continued help of India in finding an early solution to the Afghan issue and to bringing peace to that troubled nation. The leader of the Pakistan delegation to the summit, Begum Nasrat Bhutto, discusses the outstanding issues between India and Pakistan. The Indo-Sri Lankan relations and the plans for the withdrawal of the Indian peacekeeping force figure in the discussions between the Indian Prime Minister and the Sri Lankan Foreign Minister. Every opportunity is utilized by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi to exchange views with the assembled leaders. Addressing the 9th NAM summit, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi says,
"This is the 50th anniversary of that historic week in September 1939, which saw the outbreak of the most devastating war in the history of mankind. It signaled the commencement of a depraved genocide, the carnage of millions, the laying waste of country after country, the ruthless destruction of all that lay in the path of war, from humble hamlets to noble cities, the unprecedented horror of the atom bomb, the utter nihilism of nuclear weapons. Here, in this city, 28 years ago, Jawaharlal Nehru, Joseph Broz Tito, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Kwame Nkrumah, and Ahmed Sukarno met with the 20 other colleagues to chart an alternative vision of the world order. It was then and here that we of the movement of non-aligned countries began together our relentless quest for peace and harmony among the nations of the world, for unity among the people of the world, for retracting humanity from the path of conquest to help humankind recover its lost human heritage. To return to Belgrade is to return to the birthplace of the non-aligned movement. It is a homecoming after close on 3 decades of persistent endeavor in quest of peace, development, and justice in the world. Here in Belgrade in 1961, Jawaharlal Nehru said, "The power of the nations assembled here is not military power or economic power. Nevertheless, it is power. Call it moral force." The greatest success of our movement has been the ending of colonialism. Here in 1961, we demanded the immediate, unconditional, total, and final abolition of colonialism. That is a pledge we are now close to redeeming as Namibia, virtually the last bastion of alien rule, moves towards an imminent independence.
The Prime Minister pleaded to find ways to overcome the economic dominance of the major powers. He gave a new dimension to the non-aligned meet by proposing a Planet Protection Fund.
I propose the establishment of a Planet Protection Fund under the aegis of the United Nations. The fund will be used to protect the environment by developing or purchasing conservation-compatible technologies in critical areas which can then be brought into the public domain for the benefit of both developing and developed countries. The international community would have at its disposal a significant sum of $18 billion a year if only each country were willing to pay but 1,000th part of its GDP. Jawaharlal Nehru lived but a few years after the first summit in Belgrade. Tito remained with us for nearly 2 decades to guide the movement along its way. Had they been with us today, as I am sure they are in spirit, their hearts would have filled with pride at our fidelity to their principles and our perseverance along the path they indicated. Thank you.
Venezuela is a new entrant into the non-aligned movement. The Venezuelan president had wide-ranging talks on the movement with the Indian Prime Minister. India, along with nations such as Argentina, Yugoslavia, and 9 other countries, have decided to set up a summit-level group to intensify South-South cooperation and an open dialogue with the industrialized North. Palestine was one of the major issues that drew the attention of the summit leaders. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi urged the summit to lend its unqualified support to the Palestinian Liberation Organization at the meeting of the 9-member Committee on Palestine. Election process and the forthcoming poll in Namibia was discussed at a meeting between the Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, and the African leaders. The SWAPO leader, Sam Najumo, also participated. The non-aligned movement plans to send an observer team to Namibia to monitor the elections. The 10-page declaration of the 9th non-aligned summit calls for the pursuit of complete disarmament. It seeks active participation in the shaping of a peaceful world. On the deteriorating ecosystem, the declaration supports the Indian proposal for a special fund to promote international cooperation on environment issues. The declaration covers a wide range of international issues, political, economic, as well as problems of human rights.
Offesa
en route home, talking to the media people, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi summed up the summit thus.
In Harare, we took a departure, in a sense, from earlier summits in forming the Africa Fund and converting a lot of talk into concrete action. In Belgrade, we've gone a little further. We've got 13 nations together on a major initiative for South-South cooperation and also looking at a North-South agenda. We know deviation from the basic principles on which the non-alignment was founded. And second, that it is ready to address itself to the new problems on the economic side. On the whole, I'm very happy with the summit.